When you're speeding down the road of life and you come to an intersection, which way do you go? Welcome to Plot Twist Media's Crossroad.
Welcome to Plot Twist Media's Crossroad, the weekly homecast where we interview individuals who are making a difference in the world. I'm Phillip Deems.
Phillip Deems sounds like a news anchor off of a sports show.
Nailed
I'm Kevin
it.
O'Neill. Today's guest is legendary Mark McEwen. Welcome, Mark, to our show.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, the inaugural show.
Yeah.
Absolutely, the first guy. And for the one person out there who doesn't know who you are, we're going to have you tell us who Mark McEwen is, but not just yet, because
Hang on, Mark.
we have one thing that we want you to do later on. I want you to think now about a question that you would ask Alexa for our Ask Alexa segment later on.
All right, so
Okay.
be thinking about that. It may come up later, all right?
Okay.
Don't let it throw you off, though.
Yeah. Don't let it stop don't let it stop those great stories that are going to come, because we got some good ones. But tell us where did Mark McEwen come from? The humble beginnings of Mark McEwen.
That is a good question. Born in San Antonio, Texas. Grew up in Germany, Berlin, at Zweibrücken.
What?
Yeah, exactly.
Bless you.
My dad was a colonel in the Air Force. My mom started out as a mom and ended up as a VP of a bank.
Oh.
And
Big money.
So around our dinner table, you had to jump in because it was hard to get a word in edgewise. My parents were smart and sharp. Two different things. Smart is one thing, you know what's going on. Sharp is knowing how to use what you know to make your point.
Well done.
So you're sitting there, and as a kid, to raise your hand at the dinner table was a big thing. But the humble beginnings, played baseball when I was 10. My hero is Bob Gibson, the Hall of Fame pitcher for the Cardinals.
There goes that question.
Did you meet him?
I did.
That's wonderful.
Was he everything you expected?
Yeah. You want me to tell that story?
Now. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Bob was every day in front of the map at CBS. I would say today in Omaha, home of the greatest one-game pitcher, Bob Gibson. It's going to be raining 55. Wondering if he heard that. And so I read he was writing his autobiography. I went into my boss's, please, oh please, send me to Omaha, please. He did.
Awesome.
So off I go, and Bob picks me up from the hotel in a Mercedes that says the license tag was BG1. Bob Gibson 1.
Fantastic.
I'm like, you're Bob Gibson.
No mistake in this car.
So I get to his house. His mother-in-law is all excited because I'm there. And I'm like, you got this wrong.
No.
It's him.
That's Bob Gibson.
Right. So I have twins. One of my twins is Miles Gibson McEwen for Bob. So when
boy.
I told him that, when my wife Denise was pregnant, Bob looked at me and smiled and he said, you don't like Bob Gibson McEwen?
No, I don't.
So Bob Gibson.
That's
That's
a great
fantastic.
story.
Okay, so when did you get into television? Well, actually, it started in radio, am I correct?
Right. I was a rock and roll disc jockey. The way it started, I was in college.
Right.
All of us kids, students, went to the cool teacher's house, Walter McElderry. He was cool because he treated us like adults, not like 18-year-old and
Students.
Yeah, which is what we were.
Right.
So as we're going around the room, what are you doing? What are you doing? He comes to me, what are you doing? Nothing. What do you like to do? Well, when I listen to the radio and they're playing a song, the song that's next, I kind of wouldn't play that. And he says,
The order,
yeah, does Maryland have a radio station? I said, I don't know. Find out. They did. And I got there. My first song was by Scott Joplin, the theme for the movie The Sting, Ba 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 ba.
Oh, wow.
Ba 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 ba.
It's amazing you can remember that.
Yeah, well, hey. Second song, Stevie Wonder, my boy. And that's how I got into radio. I was Baltimore, Detroit, Chicago, New York, what kids call today classic rock. Back then, we called it rock and roll.
Right.
Journey, Styx, Zeppelin, Stones.
That's our era, man.
Those
Now we're
guys.
talking. Now we're talking.
When I left Detroit, a little known fact, the guy that replaced me was a young DJ from Hartford, Connecticut. His name, Howard Stern.
Are you kidding me?
Is that right?
Yeah.
That's fascinating. So you did a lot of
Pretty good
the
story.
lead-ins to songs.
Yeah.
I saw an interview, a late night
Oh,
show
yeah.
where you did this.
Yeah.
With Craig Kilborn.
Yes.
Didn't
So-
know he was going to do
You
that.
didn't?
No.
He put you on the spot.
He did.
That was brilliant. That was
Fantastic.
brilliant. So when I watched it, all I could help but think is at some point in your life, you'd listen to a DJ do that and thought, I'm going to learn how to do that? Or did you just know how to? Because he threw those songs at you. He didn't say, here's 5 songs, pick one. He just went, and he played it. And you went, you did this thing. So
You knew the pad, that front pad.
Well,
Yeah.
if you listen, you'll hear what they call a mirthless laugh from me. I just played that this morning. I was like, you're kidding me. And Sky Daniels, a guy I used to work with, the thing about rock songs, you didn't talk them up like top 40 songs.
Right.
And he was like, you do. And so I learned that from him. Right. So when Craig said, Sister Golden Hair, I think it was, I was like, you're kidding.
I just heard that.
Yeah. So, hey, that was live and didn't know it was coming. And
it was amazing. It was brilliant to watch because your timing was right there. And then you hit the next one, and it was even better.
Even better.
I think the next one was even better. I was just
It wasn't an accident.
No.
No.
You proved it wasn't. And then he did one.
His was weak.
His
Come
was,
on.
Well, it was kind of
Vanilla
strange.
Thunder.
He did
It
that
was
voice
his
and everything.
nickname.
Yeah.
Vanilla Thunder. That's
Yeah. So how did you make the transition into TV?
Well, before we get there, when I got to New York, the first station I worked there hadn't been fired before. I got fired twice in New York.
Good Lord.
The first station was WAPP. We had a contest for local bands to send in their stuff. And the band that won that contest, drum roll please, Bon Jovi.
Are you kidding me?
Really?
Yeah. With the song "She's a Little Runaway."
Yeah.
that song.
That thing was
Wow.
huge, man.
Yeah,
That was one of their biggest hits for sure. Yeah.
So you met them early on.
didn't meet them.
You didn't meet them? Oh, okay. Oh.
But I saw John at a Prince concert at the Garden, and I always say Prince and Tina Turner are the best performers I saw in heels.
Angela
Yeah.
and I missed the last concert, Prince concert, by hours. We almost bought tickets, and we said, well, no, we'll go to the next one. I think the tickets were like $4.50 a piece or something ridiculous. So we were it was like sold out or something at that point in time, and we were going to Atlanta with friends, and that was one of the we were like so upset about that because we heard his concert was so good.
Did you get to ever meet with him
Yes.
personally?
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell us about that?
I was on the radio in Chicago, and my friend of mine said, Prince is coming. This guy, I never heard of him. That was back when he had the trench coat. I want to be your lover.
Yep.
That song. So,
Dancing around in those little underwear, remember?
and everyone thought he was gay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I went to see him, and no, he wasn't.
Not even
he
close.
was shaking his rear end for the girls. He played the guitar like he invented the guitar.
One of the best.
And backstage, he was very shy and very. I was like, "You were great."
Of course.
So that's how I met him.
That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
And he was a perfectionist,
Yeah.
a big perfectionist. And I saw one concert recently where he was playing guitar, and he wanted the audience. He said, "I want you to come in and sing with it." And if they didn't do it, he'd go, "No." No, and he'd start all over. And he did it like
No,
4
no.
times. Start it all over again.
Bring it,
And
yeah.
I want you to participate.
Yeah.
I had a question for you because you were named one point one of the 10 most trusted news personalities, and we're living in a time now where Fox News and CNN has taken a lot of hits for not being very truthful in what they say or being very slanted. I think news has been slanted for a while, but not as much as right now. How do you feel having been named one of the most trusted news anchors?
Well, we learned how to do things differently than how they do them now. News, if you look across the landscape, pretty people, dumb as a bag of rocks. Back then, you kept your cards close to your vest. No one knew whether you were Dem or Republican or whatever. And you asked everyone hard questions. And I like homework. I like research. So when you do interviews, that first question, their answer can negate all the rest of the questions. And now it's ping pong. And so if you know your stuff, it becomes a conversation.
That's right.
And I learned from Walter Cronkite, Ed Bradley, Carroll, Charles Osgood, those guys.
The legends. Oh my God.
Phillip, I was so dumb, didn't know. I was like, hi guys. I'll tell you a story. The news guys all wanted to interview prime ministers and senators and presidents. And I was like, is that B.B. King over there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So that was my domain. And so when you were on the radio, you interviewed everyone. Listeners, if you were playing St. Louis, you called them on the air. So I was like, ZZ Top. So that's how I began.
Yeah.
So let's get to your TV roots. So you started with CBS, correct?
Yes.
And tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I said earlier, I'd never been fired before. I got fired twice in New York. And the second time, the Daily News, the paper, one of the papers there, had a big spread about what you were going to do next. I truthfully wanted to go across town. Howard was killing it in the morning. I wanted to do afternoons, but it didn't say that. I said, I might try TV. So I'm home. My station calls me. A guy from CBS called. Here's the number. And I thought it was WCBS FM, which is an oldies radio station. Right. I thought, oldies? I don't want to play oldies, but I didn't have a job.
Right.
So I called him up. He's very nice. He's talking, and he says, and we're going up against GMA and the Today Show. Hold on. Is this TV? He says, yeah. Interested? I go, yeah.
Yeah. Yes, I am.
I had one interview at BlackRock, the CBS headquarters. I walk in, the new EP executive producer, Bob Shanks was there, and the phones are just blowing up. He's paying no attention to that. I thought, gee whiz. So now he's talking. So, are you from New York? Do you like how about the Yankees? Do you have brothers and sisters? And I'm thinking, what the heck? But he's sizing me up the whole time. And my father had done one TV thing for HBO. HBO used to have a thing where once a year they were free to get new people to try them out, and they would be customers. And so me and like 2 or 3 other people were between segments. If a movie went an hour and a half, the next thing was in a half an hour, we filled that half an hour. Right. Okay. My dad said, bring the tape. Dad. So just bring it. You can leave it out by the receptionist. So I bring it. He says, have you ever been on TV? Well, once. There's a tape out by the receptionist. Can you get that? Okay. So he's watching it, and he says, this is the first time you've been on TV? I said, yeah, not bad. Then he says, how do you feel about the weather? And I think, I don't give a rat's behind about the weather. Didn't say that. But I also thought this this train may not come through the station again. I said, I'll do it. He said, we'll get you a meteorologist and all that. And we'll have to have an audition. And do me a favor. Don't tell anyone about this. I said, okay. I went outside, told everybody.
I would have too.
This is pre-social network, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
you...
Hey,
yeah.
Mom. Hey, Dad.
It was a phone. Yeah.
So I was fascinated with, you've interviewed a lot of presidents, and I was just curious, and it doesn't have to be a president, but I was just curious, and all the people that you've interviewed over your career, who's the number one person and why?
Well, just so you know, I get asked that a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm old. I don't remember.
Good answer. Good answer.
I'll say this.
Memorable. How about that?
Of the presidents, a guy I didn't vote for. One of my favorite guys, George H.W. Bush.
Wow.
Barbara has been in the news, and God bless her. Yep. But Bush was great. I have a Bush story.
Oh, okay.
He was the head of Desert Storm right around then. George W. Bush, his son, this is live on TV. He was invading Kuwait. And so I was going to say, what are your thoughts? And I changed it to, do you have any regrets?
Ooh.
If you've never seen a president turn red and get mad on live TV,
Oh my God.
he regrets.
Wow.
I'm like, sorry, Mr. President. And so he got mad, and I said he was there at Chica Lodge in Isla Morada in the Keys for a bone fishing tournament. I said, let's talk about bone fishing. Finally, we're talking about bone fishing. And so I'm like, I just ticked off a president. So as I'm flying home, I'm all upset. I get home. If you remember, it was the time when anthrax was supposed to be in the mail and all that. So people weren't mailing things. I'm just depressed. And so I get home. There's a fax machine in my bedroom. It starts whirring, and out comes a letter from him. And he says in the letter, I've been talking, I think I was a little tough on you this morning. And I've been talking to people. They thought the interview was very fair. Could you please send me a copy of the interview for my presidential library?
Really?
Yes.
And I thought, okay, I can do that.
It went better than you thought.
Yeah.
So it's actually in the library.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
That's fantastic.
Wow.
Good guy. Good guy.
I'm going to tell a McEwen story. Mark made his way to Orlando. We're very lucky to have, picked you up.
I'm lucky to have worked with you.
Oh, you're kidding me? Please. Thank you, by the way. But, so my first experience with Mark, I guess you were filling in on the weekend or something. Remember that? And I was directing news. I was a lowly little director. And I remember I'm sitting there marking scripts. As a director, you mark scripts. You're sitting there saying, I'm going to take this camera. I'm going to go to this tape or whatever. And I had this as a joke on the PL. PL is when you're talking to all your team. And on the PL, I would always sing Michael McDonald. And it's really bad. I'll give it a shot, but it's like, you don't know me. He gurgles. So he gurgles all his words, but he's so brilliant, right?
He's great.
So I was singing that as I'm marking scripts, and Mark comes over, and we start talking. We had this moment, right? I think you had met him. You had said you'd met him in an interview or something. But what I remember, next weekend, barely knew each other. Mark brings me a box set of CDs of,
You remember.
It was fantastic. It was fantastic. So I've still got those and play them frequently. And, that was the beginning of our friendship. And for many years after that, we've hung out. We've had great moments, great times. That's one of my favorite moments with Mark. And
What they don't know is you can hurt yourself trying to sing along with Michael McDonald.
you don't know
You can pull a muscle.
Yeah.
Wonderful, but
It's bad. Or the minute Bomb minute, bomb minute. Yeah, it was so bad. And it was a request on the PL during commercial breaks, by the way. So I was legendary. It was legendary. I had my own moment with him. But tell me about how you made it to Orlando.
I was on the morning show for 16 years, and it rumbled to a halt. I ended up working with Brian Gumbel and Jane Clayson and Julie Chen, who is now on The Talk, who I introduced her to her husband, Les Moonves.
Who's that, by the way?
The head of CBS. And she assured me they're going to keep you. Because for years, they would let other people go. They kept me. And finally, she was wrong. They got rid of all of us. And it was the first time I saw the train going over the hill and going away. And I was out of work for almost 2 years.
Really?
And I was with William Morris at the time.
Yep.
And the guy said...
The agency.
Yep. My agent said, Orlando called. I said, Orlando? He said, go see him.
Yeah.
They're good people.
Yep.
And, excuse me. It's just a plane ride. So I came down. He was right. Skip
and
Henry
Maldonado. Yeah.
Right. Yep. So and they never talked about weather. They talked about being in anger.
That's right.
And so as I'm flying back, I think I got to rethink this. And so that's what brought me to Orlando. I almost went with Access Hollywood, but if you do that, you can't come back.
Right. Yeah, there's no turning back. You're right.
So I didn't. I went to news, and I thought they were grooming me to be the evening news anchor.
Right.
I would either do that or I'd be gone.
Right.
And then I had the stroke.
Right. Tell us a little, and Kevin, I know you got some questions, but tell us about your stroke. One of the things that we remember, and it was personal to me as well, because we just remember how great things were going in the mornings. Ratings were climbing.
Thank you.
Oh, man, it was incredible, man. What a decision by the management at the time to make. I mean, the mornings were just going incredibly well. And
it's great to hear that.
Oh no, it was great. I mean, and whether it showed up every day on a which, by the way, a flawed system called Nielsen that that wink wink nudge nudge, but whether it showed up every day or not, you felt it, right? You felt it. So one of the things that was interesting was when that happened, all of us, the air just left the building. Tell us what happened.
I had gone home to Maryland. I'm from Maryland. I went there to see my best friend and my mother-in-law's sister. And at the airport, I'd gone through the X-ray machine. Didn't feel so good. And
what do you mean you didn't feel so good? Stomach just felt weak.
Yeah, and I'm right-handed. My right side, the legs didn't work the way.
Wow.
When you walk or run or move or talk or think, you do it without thinking.
Right.
And you had to think about the whole thing. And I called my wife and I said, I don't feel so good. And she said, eat something. And I bought some pizza, didn't eat it. Now, I'm a kind of guy. If you say eat something, hey,
I do it.
Hey, do it. So it got worse and worse. And off I went to the doctor in an ambulance. And the doctor said I had a stomach flu. And off I came back. And Skip, I called him, it was November. You know November.
Skip at the time was the news director.
Right.
WKMG.
November is a sweeps month.
Most
Ratings
definitely.
month.
When we needed you.
Right. And he said, take your time, but I could hear, hurry back.
Please.
Hurry back.
Yeah.
So I came back, had a wheelchair in Baltimore at the BWI, got on the plane, and had a massive stroke on the plane. And came off in Orlando, had a wheelchair there, and the sky cap didn't even talk to me, wheeled me through the airport, and left me by myself.
Unbelievable.
That's
Unbelievable.
baggage claim.
So how did you finally get in touch with your wife?
I had a cell phone, And every time I tried to get her, I could barely move.
Right.
He kept dropping.
Right.
Finally, I got her and I said, "Help me." Not good.
Oh.
And she about lost her mind.
Of course.
And she said, "Hand the phone to someone who can dial 911."
Right.
There was a guy came out of a baggage claim to smoke a cigarette.
Right.
Heavy. But I know now both are no-nos.
Right.
He looked at me and he said, "Do you want me to take that?" And I said,
You just couldn't say anything.
"Yeah." And he called the ambulance, went back into baggage claim, and that guy saved my life.
Incredible.
Wow.
Incredible. How long had
who
you
was
been
that,
sitting
by the
there?
way?
Yeah.
Who was that?
I don't know.
Yeah.
You still don't know who it is?
No.
Isn't that
I wouldn't.
something?
If he walked in the room right now.
Well, actually, he's here right now.
Come on in.
If we were lucky.
He's been waiting all this time for
my
this
God.
show.
So how long had you been sitting
Don't
there?
know.
You don't remember?
Don't know.
That is incredible. And, as anyone who's dealt with stroke knows, speed is the key. So, every minute that you were sitting there was troublesome. We're glad you're here. And,
thank you.
And I will tell you, I believe you've done just as much good now over the past years since you've, you're a stroke survivor in your first, full stint as a celebrity. Tell us about some of the things you do now, some of the speaking engagements, some of the things you do.
Well, I was the keynote speaker at the International Stroke Conference in January in LA. I will be the keynote speaker in May in DC for the Cardiovascular Health Summit. I speak around the country. What I want to tell people is don't give up. Right. Don't give up. People hit what I call speed bumps, and they turn around. Some go home. Can't do that. Can't do that. As far as I know, you're here one time.
Right.
And so I say you gotta fight back. Gotta put your head in the lion's mouth and fight back. That's my mom and dad. They gave me that. And I did a TED Talk, and it's fun. I've been substitute teaching, and I say to the kids, do you know what a TED Talk is? Who knows what they are? I'll raise your hand. I did one. You did a TED Talk?
That's a big deal.
You're legendary now.
That's a big deal to do a TED Talk. It
Yeah.
really is.
It was fun.
Yeah.
That's hard to do.
Not even a TEDx. You did a TED Talk. That's a
literal,
big deal.
yeah.
Yeah. So I had a question for you. 16 years with CBS. I know there's stories in there that you never told anyone. There's got to be an event of something that you can tell us here. Nobody's listening. Just tell us one crazy story that no one knows about.
Okay. Stevie Wonder. I'll tell you two.
Okay.
Stevie was late. I was going to interview him. He comes down and apologizes and says, I was upstairs watching Guiding Light. I thought...
Stevie Wonder said I was watching. Keyword watching Guiding Light.
Right. I thought, So he sits down. It's a great... he told me that the inspiration for Living for the City came from Hot Town, Summer in the City by the Lovin' Spoonful. Not the song, but the background sounds. The cars and the streets and the horns. That's in Living in the City as well.
Yeah.
He got that from Loving Spoonful. Okay, Al Green. Al Green, my boy. I love me some
Fantastic.
Al Green.
Yeah.
Go down to Memphis. He's the Reverend Al Green. And as we're packing up, we do the interview, and I'm like, I can't wait. I'm talking to Al Green. So he comes out, and he's about to leave. And the cameraman says, can you give us a little of So Tired of Being Alone? I was aghast. And also happy as I could be. Al says, okay. Closes his eyes. I'm so tired of being alone. I'm so.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, he sings a bit of it. Then he laughs and says, "I gotta go to work." And he leaves.
The Lord is waiting.
And he did it.
You don't make him wait. Yeah.
Right.
He did it a cappella.
Yeah.
That's got to be amazing to listen to that kind of voice.
You know, what hit me is they do that. They're just people.
Right.
But to us, I couldn't believe he did that.
Yeah.
He does that all. I'm sure.
He lays in bed and does it.
Yeah. Just
In the shower,
playing,
like I do, but it doesn't sound the same.
Mine definitely doesn't sound like that. Okay, we're gonna make a turn to the right here, and we're gonna play what's called one sentence. I need you to. It's hard for me to do this, and you've got so many great stories. It's gonna be hard for you, but keep it tight. I'm gonna ask you real quick questions, and I want you to answer them. All right. Favorite musician?
Al Green.
Boom. Favorite film?
Pulp Fiction.
Oh, we got to talk about that.
I didn't see
one.
that coming.
Yeah, exactly. Favorite athlete? Bob Gibson.
Bob Gibson.
You answered that one. That's why I said great job. You already answered one. Favorite hobby?
Trivia.
Ooh.
Reading. I like knowing things.
Very nice. Favorite TV news talent?
Not today. Ed Bradley.
Ah, very nice. How about most beautiful person you've ever met?
Wait. Besides your wife.
Beside your wife.
Because that is the answer I know.
This may take more than one sentence.
Go for it.
I was brand new at CBS, just hanging around, waiting for the next weather segment. I happened to look to my left, and I went, it was Catherine Deneuve. And
oh, wow.
I thought, gosh, you're pretty. And she was watching, she was on next segment. And I thought, you are just cute as you could be. And so, her.
Wow.
Scariest life moment? Stroke.
Yeah.
Favorite food?
Mexican.
Favorite drink?
Back to Mexico.
Margaritas.
Margarita. Frozen, no salt.
Ooh.
Hottest person you've ever met, again, beside your wife?
Ooh. And, what's her name? Houston. He used to go out with Jack Nicholson.
Oh, Angelica.
Angelica.
Oh, yeah.
I thought, you are just... And the thing is, not a classic beauty, but just heat. Her and Diane Keaton.
Oh, Diane Keaton.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, there's a sexual thing there.
Favorite...
Or is that just me? Did I speak out loud? I'm all alone here.
You're saying a lot. We're going to ask you this question.
I thought my mic was off. Testing one.
Favorite interview beyond what you've already discussed?
Denzel. I'll tell you what.
Tell me about that. Expound.
The second time he won the Oscar for Training Day.
Right.
He's backstage, has the Oscar in his lap. And I'm talking to him. And I have to come back with the goods. So I say, what's different about this? He looks to his left, looks to his right, and he says, I need a new angle. I said, a new angle? You know, people for years have been saying, you should have won the Oscar for this. You should have won the Oscar for that. Now that I have this, I need a new angle. Okay, another one. Halle Berry. Halle Berry, she won for Monsters Ball. And I see her the day before the Oscars. I say, when you win, I'm not going to, when you win, come talk to us. Okay. She's with her mom in the elevator. So she wins. She's backstage. She just can't believe she won the Oscar. And
Was she truly surprised?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah. And truly beautiful.
Well, of course.
Oh, yeah. So I say to her, when you die, on your headstone, it will say Halle Berry, Oscar winner. And she starts crying. I start crying. And that's how we end the interview. The producer from LA said, we'll cut that out. I said, no.
Don't
She
you
said,
dare.
but you look weak. I said, I don't care.
Yeah.
Don't care. To this day, people say, I remember when you were with Halle Berry. I don't care. I go for real. I like real.
Yeah.
And that's real.
Yeah, she, and I met her before when I lived in Los Angeles. And she is, yeah, I did. And she's stunning.
Yeah.
I was sitting in an audition, actually. I was reading, and she was one of the leads, but she wasn't there. She was just a producer so she wasn't really there to read. And I found myself constantly looking at her because it's weird. She's beautiful in film, but she in person, there's this radiance around her that's just, she's a beautiful person to talk to. So I know what you're saying. She really is a stunning and a good person too. I like.
And
her.
I remember going to your house one time, and I've got a CNN story that the guys will make fun of me now because I always tell my CNN stories. But I met James Brown. The guy was a blast. I'm sure you've met him. But the one story I remember was I left CNN, came back to Jacksonville, started working with Graham Media Group again, and my buddy Billy calls me because he knows I'm a big martial arts fan, MMA fan at the time, and he goes, "You're never going to believe who's here," and I went, "Muhammad Ali," and he goes, "Yep." And I went, "Are you kidding me? The one time I get to meet my favorite, Muhammad Ali." You met Muhammad, right?
I did.
They said when he walked in the room, by the way, you could just feel it.
He's bigger than you think.
Right.
He's also funnier than you think. I kept thinking, don't have a Joe Frazier flashback. But he's hanging up in my den. Me and him.
I saw the boxing gloves at his house, by the way.
Yeah.
And I went, "I'm stealing those." That you may remember that. I said, "I'm literally going to steal these," and you just started laughing. Of course. Yeah.
Great guy.
I'm still going to get in your house.
Okay. I'll give them to you. No, I won't.
No, you will not. Okay. In the news, you're a newsman, so we're going to talk about in the news today. And one of the headlines was Bill Cosby.
Oh.
My man Bill. Did you ever meet Bill?
Oh, please. Did I?
Yeah. Tell me about Bill Cosby. Now, there's two sides to this story, I'm sure. But today, let's just read CNN. The jury in Bill Cosby's retrial found the TV icon guilty of all 3 counts of aggravated indecent assault on Thursday for drugging and sexually assaulting Andrea Constant at his home, blah, blah, blah. It goes on to say. Tell us when you met Bill and what do you think about what's going on right now with this story?
Okay. Outside of my mom and dad, the person who had the biggest influence on me was Bill Cosby. My parents let me listen to his records because
which were brilliant, by the way,
and clean,
and very clean.
And clean.
He was the first
Yes.
clean act.
Yes.
Yeah, he was.
They didn't have Def Comedy Jam, HBO, or Showtime back then. You had to be clean to be on Carson. Everyone wanted to be on Johnny Carson. I met Bill. Bill wrote the foreword to my book.
Oh, really? I did not see that.
Yeah,
I've read your book. Which, by the way, is still always on sale. It's fantastic. It's very good. I encourage it.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
We'll put it up in a link at the end of the...
Thanks
by the way,
again.
and promote it. We'll keep promoting it.
The first time I met him, he said, "Nice to meet you at CBS." I said something from an album of his. He cocked his head and he said, "That sounds like something I said." I thought, duh. Duh. He is a great friend. He one time I was out doing the weather on the plaza and there was no one there. He came down with donuts to draw a crowd.
That's so great.
Come on.
That is so classic.
Okay.
Yeah.
What happened today, I do not condone. And it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart.
Of course.
Imagine if that was your daughter.
Oh, yeah.
Your sister.
No, of course.
Enough said.
Yeah.
There are no words for me, but I'll tell you something. You live long enough, you see everything.
Right.
And it breaks my heart.
Yeah, and I think all of us see that, and we look back nostalgically, if that's a word. And I look at how clean his comedy was. You put that up against some of the others at the time, and this shocks us all. So
he's the biggest icon you can imagine.
Most
from
definitely.
my generation and many others.
Well, imagine if you're black.
right.
Yeah.
Because back in the day, there was one black guy in a movie. He either got killed right away, or he was a thug, or he was fetal family now, all that. It was him and Eddie Murphy in Beverly Hills Cop, where white guy said, "What do we do?" And he said, "Eddie, here's what we do." You never saw that before. You never saw that. And plus, Bill, they came to him to be a chauffeur. And his wife said, If you remember, he was a lawyer, a doctor. His wife was a lawyer.
Very educated.
Yeah.
Very educated. And it's a shame. And all of us kind of, I think it shocked everyone, especially from our generation.
Broke my heart.
Of course it will. Of course it did. When I look back, I think about family a lot. You and I have one thing in common, which is stroke. And I, in October, had 2 strokes. So I look back now on the time I spend in business and work, and I look at it differently now. So tell us a little bit about your family, the people that were there for you through all of this. And by the way, he has 2 incredibly beautiful twins, by the way. That thing 1 and thing 2 is what I'll always call them, because
They're 14 now.
No, I will never remember them as 14. We were at Disney and I see them come rolling up in their costumes as thing 1 and thing 2, and I'd like, Mark, that's fantastic. But tell us about your family.
Well, my wife, Denise, Phillip could have been gone, could have left. Right. And she stayed to help me get better. Put that apple just in front of my face so I would go forward, keep going forward. She would pack up the car. The kids were little, 2
They were
back then,
yeah.
And put them in the car seats, then come get Dad, who could barely move. And I had therapy 5 days a week, 3 hours a day.
How long were you in therapy though? It was a year, right?
A year. Speech, physical, and occupational, they call it. And she never said, she never let on, what do I do? The life has changed dramatically. And this is not the guy. The vows, for better or for worse. For better is easy. For worse is a bit more tricky. And she did turn that for worse out.
How long have you been together?
Oh, God. My wife is my sister's best friend.
That's how you met her?
Yeah. They met in driver's ed. They were 16.
Fantastic.
And she said, my sister said, when she got her license, the first place I'm going to drive is drive you over to meet my new friend. So she pulled up. I thought, who is this?
Beautiful, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
So, Phillip, I've been chasing her forever. And finally, I said just last week, I can't believe we're married.
Exactly.
Wow.
We have kids.
Yeah.
I can't believe we're married. So she still makes me laugh, still makes me bite my knuckle. And I think she's hot.
Well, of course, yeah.
Well, she's here right now. We just
We're gonna keep surprising you with those. Yeah. And tell us about the kids. How are they doing nowadays?
They are now in 8th grade, middle school. Next year, they're going to high school. Tomorrow, I'm going back to their high school to sub because Dad wants to pay the runway for his kids.
Yeah.
I came in there Monday. The kids were like, You're famous. I said, no, Bruno Mars is famous. They're like, do you know Kim Kardashian? No.
Nor do I want to.
But
then you're not famous.
my kids will be here next year. Be good to them.
Yeah.
Be good to them.
Yeah.
So they're, I'll tell you a funny story. I'm in the car. They're like maybe 13 or 12. The car smells like someone's been shooting hoops in the car. I'm smelling my armpits. I'm thinking, it's not me. They're in the back seat. La, la, la. I'm thinking, you guys stink. This is a thing called deodorant.
I want you to roll it.
It's time, boys.
Yeah. And they're like, what? I'm like, you stink.
So, okay, I gotta take you back just a little bit here because you've got a great sense of humor. You're very funny, and you've always had that. I mean, I watched you, all my growing years, and I always wondered because you did go to Second City. I always wondered, was it your desire to be a comedian because you did some stand up, or was it? How do you figure it worked into your life? Did it help you a lot in being able to? Because there's a lot of improvisation in Second City. And then there's also comedy. Did it help you prepare you for the interviews because you said there's these moments where you would ask questions and Where do I go from here?
My line is, I was so funny doing stand-up, I ended up in news. That's how funny I was. But if you say something funny in a room full of comedians, you're like 10th or 11th. You say something funny around news guys, they fall right on the floor. They're not prepared for that. They're not prepared for that. And I was like, just glad to be here.
Yeah.
And so that kind of thing helped me. When you have dead air from the person you're talking to, fill it. You fill it with what you say. And that's where the comedy and also the research and the trivia and all that come in.
Yeah, and it's interesting because you talk about the dead air and the ability to be able to just jump in. You do a lot of research, but having that ability to know what to say at the right moment, I think that's the thing that because you've said it now a couple times, where you ask the questions that nobody wanted to ask.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, and I think that I wonder when somebody does that, if that is something that just hits you in the moment, because I think that's probably where the dead air gets filled the best. We can come up with 100 questions, but do you just think in that moment, you know what, this is hitting me right now, I want to ask you right now, because you made Halle Berry cry.
Yes,
and
yes, I did.
You know what I'm saying? And it's because there's no way she knew.
I never knew that, by the way. You should have told me that first day.
Yeah, the CDs would have meant a lot more to him.
I could have signed Halle Berry.
And he would have bought it. He would have bought it with tears on it. You could have left tears on it. That's her tears.
Well, the thing is, interviewing someone, I told you, Phillip, it's more a conversation. Forget that camera. Talk to me. And my job is to get you to be comfortable to where you forget there's a cameraman and sound guy and another cameraman and lights and all that. Just talk to me. It's a conversation. So when you talk, it's not like so you were bubble. No. It's more just talk.
Intimate, more intimate.
Yeah. And so to me, that's where the fun is in that moment. And I'm not here to always say that I'm the matador. The person you're interviewing is the bull, and the cape are the questions. Oh. So, but I'm not.
That's a fantastic analogy.
We got to keep that.
I'm using that one.
We got to keep that in mind when we do our show.
You seem to be writing that down right now. It's fantastic.
So I'd have a question, because I was around a buddy of mine who was a comedian, stand-up comedian for many years, and he played Caroline's and all of the nice clubs up in New York. And I met a lot of the celebrity comedians, and there was always this place that they always stayed. I remember going on location, like to Miami or West Palm. They always stayed in somebody's house or apartment. And when you'd sit with them, and I want to test this with you, they're always testing material. So everything they're doing is about, you sit there and after a while you're just, this is all they're doing. And they're trying to see if they can make the comedians laugh, because if that works. And so they have newspapers and magazines, and they've got the radio on and the TV, everything's playing in the room, and they're just, Bob, Jerry Bush, let me tell you. And they're going into these bits constantly. So did you find yourself getting caught up in that where?
No. I always called myself the Joni Mitchell of stand-ups. If they didn't laugh, I'd go home and cry. But you're right. When you interview people the way I do it, it's not about me. It's about you.
Right.
And so I'm not here to let you know how smart I am or how funny I am. I'm here to let them know how smart you are, how funny and interesting you are. And that's the whole thing. So that would wear me out.
Yeah.
Which is completely different than what we see nowadays on television. And that's one of the frustrating points that we continue to talk about, and why we're doing what we're doing right now with this podcast, which is talk to people who are making a difference in their communities in the world. Unlike what we see nowadays, which is newscast with name, and it's all about them versus the individuals that you're talking to, or the people even behind that lens, that screen that people are looking at. So it's really frustrating to see some of that stuff nowadays, but that's why we're here doing what we're doing and why we're talking to you.
And why you're the first guest.
Amen, brother. And why we're excited that you're here. So now it's the time that we need to really think about asking Alexa something, all right? Now, each week we're going to do this, and what we're going to try to do is push Alexa to that moment.
Okay.
All right? And it's easy to do with some questions, but I want you to ask something really difficult. So, Kevin, if you could grab Alexa from over there, and you need to put her right up against the mic. Let's see if we can get her to communicate. All right.
Do I have to push a button? Or?
Nope, you don't have to do a thing, brother. So when you get a shot, go ahead and ask your question to Alexa.
Alexa, is New York the capital of the world?
Here's what I found on reference.com. While there is no official capital of the world, Tokyo is the largest city on the planet. The Japanese capital is home to more than 13 million inhabitants.
Oh my God, she went off.
The metropolitan area has a population.
He knew this.
Nice job, Mark.
You planned this, Mark. She's going into a monologue.
Alexa, stop.
Alexa, enough already, Alexa.
Didn't know she was gonna do that.
I thought you were going to say, Alexa, are you drunk or something? No. Mark, I can't thank you enough. Is there anything you want to leave us with today?
Well, the one thing, remember what you do and who you are. Because there were people who I interviewed that were standoffish to fans and all that. If you just take a moment and say, great to meet you, stay in school, do your homework, that person will never forget that, ever. And people forget that have 5 movies out and it can't bother me. No, take your time. And the big ones I met who did that meant so much to me.
Sure.
So that's what.
And you know what? Let me just add something else to that, because I don't know if this is going to work or not, but I'll just throw this in. Is there a quote that you've heard in your life by someone that has kind of been the thread of your life?
When I had my stroke, one of my favorite quotes is, "A man's reach should exceed his grasp, or what's a heaven for?"
Bravo.
I love that.
We're going to end on that, but I will say this. Facebook, we weren't able to get to your questions this week because Mark is way too interesting. All right. So
This is fun.
He has
I
a
love
lot of
this, my
answers.
friend. I love this. And by the way, thank you for being our first guest.
Quite welcome.
Kevin and I are very grateful to
Yes,
you.
thank you very much. Very excited to have you here.
And look, you want to come back next week? You come back. You can come back
moving
anytime.
in.
I think next week's too early. Let's make it every other week.
Yeah. I don't even think we can do it.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure
Thank
having
you
you.
very much, my friend.
Thank you.
So, Kevin, who do we have coming up next week?
Well, I'm glad you asked. We have Chrissy Goss coming in from Hope Helps next week. I'm looking forward to that.
That sounds fantastic. Stay tuned, folks. We'll see you next week on Plot Twist Media's Crossroad.